Alright, so this weekend, of course, is the Southern 500 for NASCAR at Darlington Raceway. Of course, the Southern 500 is one of the big four crown jewel races in NASCAR. Always a great race. And of course, the big theme with the Southern 500 is that now we have the throwback weekend where we throw back to the past and present of NASCAR. So for this video, we're going to look at the paint schemes run for the throwback schemes for this year's Darlington race, and I'll give you my thoughts and some history behind them. So how about we just jump right into it? Alright, so scheme number 1, Landon Castle's 00 car. It honors Bobby Allison's famed Miller High Life car when Bobby drove with Miller Lite as a sponsor. This one, though, looks a little bit more orangish than gold. But yeah, either way, really nice looking car. Really like it. Not bad. Nice tribute, Landon. Alright, so the next throwback scheme we have is the one of Jamie McMurray. Jamie's is honoring 50 years of the Big Mac with a scheme that's similar to the one Bill Elliott ran with the 94 for McDonald's 50th anniversary in 1998. Now, really nice looking car, like the gold. I actually didn't know the Big Mac existed for 50 years until I saw the scheme and read the history behind it. But yeah, nice looking car, Jamie. Not bad. Alright, the next car we got up is the 2 of Brad Keselowski. This honors another Rusty Wallace Miller scheme. This is the one Rusty ran from the late 80s and early 90s, sorry there. When Rusty drove the 27. I usually like the Miller cars, especially the black ones. I like the one Brad ran last year on a Rusty Wallace. It seems so every time they do a number 2 throwback, it's always to a Rusty Wallace scheme or someone that drove a Miller Lite scheme. It's an awesome looking car. It's one of my favorite schemes. Really like it. Good job, Brad. Alright, the next scheme we got here is the 4 of Kevin Harvick. His throwback scheme was inspired by the Busch beer can design from 1996, so not technically a driver throwback, more of a sponsor throwback. Some people complain about sponsor throwbacks, I don't. It's still a throwback, regardless. It's a nice looking car, nice looking beer can, but yeah, I really like this scheme too, not bad. So the next throwback we have is the 6 of Matt Kenseth, and his honors Oscar Mayer hot dogs, which served as an associate sponsor at Roush Fenway in the early 2000s. It was featured on Kenseth's 17 car when Matt drove the 17 for Roush. It also served and was featured on 97 of Kurt Busch when Kurt drove the 97 for Roush Fenway. And I'm mad with this scheme. But hey, it's decent. It's not a terrible scheme, that's for sure. But yeah, Matt Kenseth paying homage to an old sponsor. Okay. Alright, next scheme we have is the 9 of Chase Elliott. Chase's scheme pays homage to a car driven by his late cousin, Casey Elliott. So it's a yellow Napa car. Out of all the Chase Elliott throwbacks Chase has done, I think this is actually my favorite one of them all. Plus, for the number font, they actually changed the font. Because the number font for this car, I think it's exactly the same number font Bill Elliott had when Bill used to drive the 9 car. So yeah, I really like this scheme. Probably one of my favorite throwback schemes too. But yeah, not a bad looking car, Chase. Good job. Alright, next scheme we have here is the 10 of Eric Almirola, who's running a special Smithfield Helping Hungry Home scheme. Okay, technically this isn't a throwback scheme, but still it's a nice looking scheme regardless. We get a break from the traditional black and white Smithfield car. So yeah, now looking car, and also the old catchphrase is back. Gotta get that Smithfield branding in, folks. Alright, next throwback scheme we have is the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Now, this scheme is one of my favorites, and the story behind this one is good. So, Denny Hamlin's scheme is throwing back to his first ever race car, which was a mini stock he drove in 1997 at Langley Speedway and Southside Speedway in Virginia. Hamlin's paying homage to his early racing days. So yeah, and also for this one, they also changed the number font to the number font Hamlin had when he drove that said mini stock. So yeah, the story behind this and the scheme itself, it's a really good scheme, really good story, really good job, Denny. Hopefully that car ends up in victory lane. Easily one of my favorite schemes for Throwback Week. And if anyone's wondering, I will be announcing my favorite throwback scheme at the end of the video, so stay tuned if you want to find out what it is. Alright, the next scheme we have is the 12 of Ryan Blaney. Ryan's throwback is an inspired throwback to his father, Dave Blaney, when Dave drove the 77 for Jasper in the early 2000s, so he's keeping it in the family, I guess. You know, it's also not a bad-looking car. You know, it's unfortunate. It's too bad for Dave. You know, it's too bad Dave couldn't win a racing cup. He was not that bad of a driver. You know, but hey, good job, Ryan. Really like this scheme. Nice job. So the next throwback we have here is the 13 of Ty Dillon. Ty's scheme is the scheme that Germain Racing and Geico debuted in 2009, which was Germain Racing's inaugural Cup season when the driver was Max Pappas. Of course, Germain Racing always been a single cars team since 2009. Max Pappas was the driver for about a year and a half. 2010, he split it part-time with Casey Mears. Then Casey took over, I believe it was in full-time in 2011. And Casey would be the driver all the way till after 2016. Then Ty Dillon became the full-time driver in 2017 since. But yeah, nice looking car. You know, not bad. Yeah, you know, at least it's not another smoky unit throwback. At least we get something new for a change for the 13. Alright, the next car we have here is the 14 of Clint Boyer. It's Carolina Ford Dealers. This scheme honors Ned Jarrett's 11 Richmond Ford Motor Company Galaxy that Ned drove to victory at Darlington in 1965. Of course, this one, they also changed the number font on it to look something close to the number font from Ned Jarrett's 1965 car. You know, Clint ran this scheme last year, but it was the font. The only difference is the font this year. So yeah, it's still a decent looking car. But yeah, Clint, okay, good job. Alright, next up is the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse. This is a throwback. This is a John Deere throwback scheme. This is a throwback to when Chad Little drove the 97 for Roush Fenway. You know, I really like this John Deere scheme. I've always liked the John Deere car. I always liked Chad Little's scheme when he drove the 97. You know, the John Deere scheme's easily one of my favorite schemes all time, hands down. But yeah, Ricky, nice scheme. Good job. Maybe someday, John Deere can come back as a sponsor in the Cup Series, but we will have to wait and see on that one. Alright, the next throwback we have is the 18 of Kyle Busch, who Kyle Busch is throwing back to Ernie Irvin's 1998 Skittles scheme. If anyone's wondering, it's the car on the right that's the throwback scheme. The car on the left is the normal Skittles car Kyle Busch runs. But yeah, either way, still a nice looking car. As much as I hate Kyle Busch, I'll give credit where it's due. He actually has a nice looking car for throwback weekend. Nice job. It's great to see Kyle Busch at least trying to compete in the throwback weekend. Good job, Kyle. Next throwback we have, it's the 20 of Eric Jones. This throwback features a Stein inspired by his spotter Rick Corelli's Remax truck that Rick drove in the Truck Series from 1996 to 1999. Of course, you got the vintage Sports Clip logo, so yeah, that's a really nice looking car. So yeah, Eric, nice looking car, good job. Sadly, the only Gibbs driver not competing in throwback is Daniel Suarez. Too bad. Too bad they couldn't give Suarez like a Carl Edwards throwback or something like that. Too bad. Alright, the next throwback we have is the 21 of Paul Menard. In this motocross scheme honors Cale Yarborough, and Cale drove for the Wood Brothers. You know, but every week, though, Paul Menard drives the Wood Motorcraft car scheme. It's usually a throwback every week with that paint scheme. But, you know, this one they're honoring Cale Yarborough by having Cale's name on the sky of the car. But yeah, still a nice looking scheme. The Wood Brothers 21 car always has one of the best schemes in NASCAR, hands down. But yeah, still not a bad looking throwback. So next throwback scheme we have is the 22 of Joey Logano. This scheme is representative of the 20th anniversary Pensleo car that Steve Park drove in 1998. So it's an old DEI paint scheme. So far, as of this recording, Teresa Arnhart hasn't pulled any copyright infringement BS, because we know how she likes to shelter everything involved with DEI because of how much her ego plays an effect on everybody, and how she's sheltered away from everyone ever since Dale Sr. died. Like, she all but ran DEI into the ground, and now DEI's now Chip Ganassi Racing. But yeah, Still, not a bad-looking paint scheme. As much as I hate Logano, I'll of course give credit where it's due. You actually got a good scheme, Logano. Not bad. Next scheme we have is the 24 William Byron. Of course, this scheme pays tribute to Jeff Gordon's iconic rainbow-colored ride from the 1990s when Jeff Gordon drove the 24. And that was back when the 24 crew were known as the Rainbow Warriors. You know, it seems like every year for Darlington Throwback for the 24, they're always going to throw it back to Jeff Gordon in some way. You know, it could be a scheme like this or the Flame scheme that Jeff Gordon ran with DuPont, Exalta, for much of the 2000s. You know, it's always going to be a Gordon throwback. But, you know, the Rainbow one's always a good-looking Jeff Gordon car. But, yeah, Byron, good job. Alright, next throwback scheme we have is the 31 on Ryan Newman. His 31 Caterpillar car is painted like the Good Wrench Mom and Pop's paint scheme Neil Bonnet drove in 1993. So it's traditionally a black Caterpillar car. I actually think the Caterpillar car looks better as black. Too bad it doesn't say Bat on it instead, because it does look like the Batmobile now. But yeah, either way, good car, Ryan. Good job. Alright, the next scheme we have is the 32 of Matt DiBenedetto. This scheme honors Jeff Burns' number 99 Excite batteries Ford that Jeff drove in the late 90s for Roush Fenway. To be honest, though, this doesn't really look much like a throwback. I think this is a scheme Matt runs on a weekly basis. But, you know, they count it as a throwback. Maybe the logo's different. But, yeah. But, hey, you know, I'll count it, too. It's still a decent-looking car. I'll give it that, Matt. Good job. Keep being a fan favorite, Matt. Alright, next throwback scheme we have is the 37 of Chris Buescher. This scheme honors the Bush's Beans can design from the 1930s. So really going back there. But yeah, you know, not driver throwback scheme. It's more of a sponsor throwback scheme. Still, not that bad. It's pretty meh. But yeah, Buescher, not bad. Alright, next throwback scheme we have is the 38 of David Reagan. His scheme celebrates Dale Jarrett's first ever Cup win at NASCAR at Michigan in 1991 when Dale Jarrett drove the 21 for the Wood Brothers. So yeah, nice looking scheme. Paying tribute to Dale Jarrett. Not bad, David. Good job. Alright, next scheme we have is the 41 of Kurt Busch. Kurt Busch's throwback scheme is sharp black and red and gray scheme. It closely resembles Kurt Busch's number 97 Rubbermaid car when Kurt Busch drove for Roush Fenway in the early 2000s. Too bad it couldn't be Rubbermaid as a sponsor, but hey, you know, it's still a nice-looking car regardless. Kurt Busch drawing it back to his old days, but yeah, nice-looking car. Good job. Alright, next throwback scheme we have is the 42 with Kyle Larson. His throwback scheme honors Davey Allison when Davey used to drive the 28 Texaco Javelin Ford. But yeah, you know, not a bad-looking scheme. I think if they wanted to go a little more with the throwback, instead of the blue stripe and the blue-colored sponsor logo, they could have gone red and maybe red on both to maybe really go through the throwback. And if they really wanted to go one step further, they could have also made the 42 number gold and really go with the throwback. But still, not a bad-looking car regardless. Nice job. Alright, next scheme we have is the 43 of Bubba Wallace. Bubba, of course, his scheme is celebrating the 1972 Riverside Speedway scheme Richard Petty ran. And fun fact, that scheme was the first scheme of the STP partnership with STP and Richard Petty. You know, that sponsorship show's still going strong today. You know, it seems though every year with the 43, they're always going to throw it back to Richard Petty. Since Richard's the one that made the 43 iconic in NASCAR. But still, really nice looking car. You know, it's very strange to see the 43 as a Chevy now. Because we've been used to it for so many years being either a Ford or a Dodge or whatnot. You know, it just feels strange now that it's a Chevy. But still, not a bad looking car. Really like the Petty Blue. Good job. Alright, next scheme we have is the 47 of AJ Allmendinger. AJ's scheme pays tribute to the 59 car driven by Robert Presley for the JTG Daugherty Racing in the 1998 Busch Xfinity Series. Yeah, because back in the 90s, it was called the Busch Series till I think it was till 2007. Then from 2008 to 2014, the Xfinity Series is known as the Nationwide Series. And then from 2015 to today, it's now the Xfinity Series. But yeah, not a decent looking car, gonna admit, not gonna lie. But yeah, not bad, AJ. Not bad. All right, next throwback scheme we have is the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. This scheme is a throwback to the car Jimmy drove at Darlington in 2012, where Jimmy got Hendrick Motorsports their 200th win. Now, I've always liked this scheme. I liked it back in the day. I like it great on a Camaro body. However, this is not really much of a throwback because this is a scheme from something that happened 6 years ago. Like, it was just recent. Like, I honestly think they could have done better, you know. Of course, this is Lowe's final year in NASCAR. Yeah, I think they could have done a better throwback scheme. I honestly, if you want my opinion, I would have had Jimmy throw it back to his rookie scheme, or maybe even to the Lowe's Power of Pride scheme. I always liked that scheme. Or if you want to go one step further, you could have thrown back to Mike Skinner scheme when Mike drove the 31 Lowe's car for RCR. Or you could even went to Brett Bodine when Brett had the Lowe's scheme. But yeah, still, it is what it is. I always liked the scheme, but I think they could have done better than this. Alright, next throwback scheme we have is the 66 of Timmy Hill. This scheme honors the scheme Darrell Waltrip drove during his 2000 victory tour, which 2000 was Darrell Waltrip's final year as a full-time NASCAR driver. Of course, I believe Darrell's number was the 66 that year, so yeah. You know, of course, honoring Darrell Waltrip. Not a bad-looking scheme. You know, Timmy Hill, of course, with a small car team. So, you know, not often small car teams run throwback schemes, but in this case, they are. So, yeah, not bad. Alright, our next throwback scheme is the number 95 of Casey Kane. Casey's scheme is patterned off his number 9 Dodge Dealers car from 2006 when Casey Kane drove the 9 for Ray Everham. So, yeah, not a bad-looking scheme. You know, for a small, of course, you know, the number font change, you know, of course, you know, the 9, it's looked like the 9 from Ray Everham Racing. You know, for a small car team, Revine's Family Racing's been treating Casey Kane very well. Of course, this being Casey Kane's final season in the Cup Series. But yeah, not a bad looking scheme. So yeah, good job, Casey. Alright, our next throwback scheme is the 96 of Jeffrey Earnhardt. This scheme honors Dale Sr.'s Cardinal Tractor Ford Dale drove in 1978. So once again, keeping it in the family. You know, not a bad looking scheme. If anyone's wondering, Jeffrey Earnhardt is Dale Sr.'s nephew. So yeah, that's where Jeffrey falls in the Earnhardt family tree. But yeah, not a bad looking scheme. It's pretty good. I'll give it that. But yeah, nice job keeping it in the family, Jeffrey. Alright, the final throwback scheme we have for this weekend's race, at least in the Cup Series. I'm not going to be doing the Xfinity paint schemes. But the final scheme we have here is the 99 of Derek Cope. This is a throwback scheme to Derek's Bojangles car from 1993. So yeah, not a bad looking scheme. You know, of course, has the race sponsor, the Bojangles Southern 500. So yeah, not a bad looking car. But yeah, those are all the throwback schemes for this year. I hope at Homestead this year Jimmy Johnson gets to run his rookie scheme or a really good Lowe's throwback. I'm hoping that Jimmy gets to run his rookie scheme for Lowe's at Homestead, like Dale Jr. got to run his rookie scheme for his final race. And same deal with Matt Kenseth's final race in 2017 in the 20 car. But yeah, that's where I stand on that. For everyone that's wondering, my favorite throwback, if you want to know what my favorite throwback scheme is, I would have to go with Denny Hamlin's 11 car, you know, the story behind it and the scheme itself, it's really good, really telling. But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Let me know what your favorite throwback schemes are. What are your thoughts on them? But yeah, that's all I gotta say. Hope everyone has a great day, and yeah, peace out.